listening to Europe's #1 pro wrestling podcast.
Set no substitutes.
Bringing you the best in pro wrestling interviews, news, and opinions with Mr. Stevie Knight.
That is I, Mr. Stevie Knight, and welcome back to the It's Nighttime podcast. We've added a couple of words before It's Nighttime. I was looking for something really synonymous with British wrestling, so I put out a quote. I said, who would like to name my new show? And we came back with Seconds Away. It's Nighttime. You see, we've got a few fancy words before that. Of course, these are the rehashed interviews of 4 old interviews that I did. We're going to put Doug Williams on there. Danny Collins is also going to be on there as well. Also, Magnus, Nick Aldis, who we'll also talk to again, because a lot has happened since that interview was taken. And also we're going to interview Spud again as well. In fact, Spud, Rockstar Spud, may I add, is going to be our very first interview back when a new show drops in just a week's time. So get ready with the countdown. New show starting next week. It's all very exciting. We're going to start doing the show on a weekly basis. We're going to be doing news. We're going to be talking to Greg Lambert, who's going to come on the show, give us all the latest British wrestling news. We're also going to talk to American stars, European stars, everybody you can possibly think of. We're going to try and get on the all-new Seconds Away It's Nighttime show. Super excited for this. We put a lot of effort into it. We've had a lot of things made, like audio tracks to play in the background. That's what you can hear right now. Also, a brand new opening that you've heard already, especially put together by my friend Richard Newby. So thank you for that, although he has charged me for it, so I shouldn't thank him too much. So I won't waffle too much, because we're going to talk a lot more once we get the new episodes of the podcast on the way. So we are going to go back. This was recorded last year with Douglas Williams, a true British ambassador for British professional wrestling, quite possibly the biggest name really to not go to WWE in Britain for the last 10 years. This is Doug Williams, and we start the conversation asking him how he's coping going back to real life. I would think a lot of people have trouble accepting that.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, like, it's okay, because I keep my hand in, obviously, and I do bits and pieces, and it's fine, but, you know, it's never ideal, is it? Because you have your dreams of what it's supposed to be, and then, you know, you live that for a little while, then you come back to reality, and there you go, you know. Well, you're still having fun. You're still having fun with it, and I would think you did far more than you ever imagined. Yeah, and that's absolutely right, and I did far more than anyone else. Well, not anyone else, but I've done far more than a lot of people probably want to do. Than anybody we know, mate, just about, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Well, we will go into that, because that's well worth mentioning. Yeah, so, right. I'm just going to waffle, mate, literally. I've got no preset questions. Really? I've got nothing that I want to... No, I don't. No, exactly. I don't know anything about you and Noah, so... Really? I'll just... Yeah, fucking hell, mate. I don't know who Akara Tauryu is or anybody like that, so... You reckon two of the top Noah stars, mate? Well, exactly. Yeah. Do you know what I thought? And I often thought about that, you know, because Misawa dropped dead. Yeah. How long after that match? About 3 or 4 months? No, he died in 2009, mate. That was 5... No, it wasn't, was it? Yes. Oh, all right then. Well, it wasn't that far after. 5 years after. 5 years. Well, it's not that far after. Can you imagine, though, if, like, I'd have slammed him or something and he'd dropped dead in, like, in front of 90 people in Carluke, Scotland? Well, there we go. I'm quite sure he was protecting himself there that night. We'd have left a legacy, though. We'd have left a legacy. What a place to go. What a place to go that would have been. There you go. So I am joined on the line by a very good friend of mine. We go very, very far back. Is it Douglas or Doug now? It's Doug, mate. Doug Williams, Doug. Yeah. That was never my idea. So there we go. It worked for the gimmick. It worked for the, yeah, kudos to them. It did work for the gimmick, and I've not got no complaints. After all, on TV, you play a character, and my character was Douglas Williams. So there we go. It was. Yeah. I'm sure we'll talk more about TNA a little bit later on. Where did we meet, Doug? Can you remember our first meeting? I want to say it was in the Phoenix Gym in East London for the UWA things. And I can't remember it being before then. You know when we did that UWA, that silly documentary thing? I think it probably was, yeah. It might have been that, actually. I can't remember any time before that. I mean, like, certainly never met you at a show, a regular show. No. Because it was kind of the Hammerlock clique, and then it was whatever, the regular British circuit clique or whatever I go. It wasn't, you know what it was like back then. And I think that's when the two sides kind of merged together the first time, you know what I mean? And that's when I think I met you.
So Hammerlock, because obviously this is a forgotten piece of British wrestling history, really. I think
it is now, really, isn't it? When you consider the people that have come out of there, you know what I mean?
It's quite amazing the names that have gone on, and not only gone on to do well, but have also been great workers that have come from that place. Do you think that was through good training, or do you think that was through just luck with the guys that turned up at that gym?
Honestly, I just think, I think, personally, at that time, it was difficult to get into British wrestling. You know, it was quite a closed shop still then. And either you did it the route that you took, that I don't really know how you did it, but I'm assuming that you started doing camps and you went to shows and, and someone decided to use you. Is that the case?
Pretty much, pretty much.
Or the other route at that time was that I saw the article in the magazine about the training school down in Folkestone, Hamlock, and I went down there and started training. And I really didn't know anything else because I wanted to be a professional wrestler, and the only thing I knew was that Dale Martins had their offices in a gym in Brixton. By the time I started wanting to train, that had shut down, so I was kind of stuck as to what to do, And so when I saw that article in, I think it was called Superstars of Wrestling, like the precursor to Power Slam, I saw the article in there with Andre featuring and everything. I thought that's a place to start, so I went down there and started training. It's as simple as that, really. And I think that, there's probably, 10, 15 guys, at that time didn't know how else to start in wrestling, and they all saw that as well and thought that's where I've got to go. So what you got is all the guys with the hunger, all the guys with the ambition and wanted to be a wrestler, they saw that and they thought that's where I've got to go. And I think that's really the reason. I don't think there's any specific training technique or the training was any, because really at the end of the day, all you did is get in the ring and mess about with each other, and mess about with each other, you know what I mean? Wrestle with each other.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I think that was just a place for people to go with a common interest, all wanting to be pro wrestlers, didn't really know how to do it, so we all went there. And I think that's really why that happened. I'm not taking anything away from Andre, but he provided that environment for the guys that wanted to be wrestlers, and didn't really know any other way. And especially in the South as well. I don't know what it was like up north, but in the South, the holiday camp circuit was, I didn't know anything about it when I started wrestling. All I knew was the town shows, and they were few. In 1993, they were few and far between.
But it was very closed shop at the time, and I know that when Hammerlock started up, and it was a wrestling school where you could pay some money and get on a wrestling show. The guys that I was working with at the time, there was total disdain for that.
Well, I think that's kind of a misconception there, Steve, because you pay to train, that's fair enough, and obviously Andre ran shows, and we didn't get paid to do those shows, but that was considered part of our training. But he did get us booked on shows where we did get paid. I did, pretty much from the first year I was wrestling as a pro, he booked me to work for Neil Evans, Tom Thumb, on camp shows, and I got paid for those. So even though I was doing his, Andre's shows for free, which I considered part of my training, he was still booking me out and getting me paid work. And I think that's, obviously people don't know this, but I'm just saying that was how it was. I'm not sure that's the same for every guy that worked for Andre, because I know what Andre was like and maybe took advantage of some people, but I always made it clear that I was in there to be a pro and make some money, and as long as I was getting some return out of it, I was going to keep going and progress. And the moment that I didn't was the moment I stepped out and I started doing other things,
Now you're quite a level-headed guy, Doug. You've been to come on. You've stepped out of your comfort zone since I've known you. Let's be fair. You're an educated guy. You're a qualified. Is it a chartered surveyor?
No, I'm a quantity surveyor.
A quantity surveyor. What's the difference there?
Quantity surveyor works. From what I do, I work for building contractors, and basically what I do is value the work that they've done. Say they're building an office block. I value what they do each month, and then I invoice the client for it. A chartered surveyor is, and there's lots of different types of surveyors. There's land surveyors, there's property surveyors, and they all have different jobs, But my job is I work in the construction industry, and commercial management of jobs, projects that are going on. I mean, you know, exciting stuff. I know, but
but what my point is that you have an education.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So the wrestling was just kind of a dream on the side of having an education and something you wanted to follow.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously you have dreams and ambitions in certain aspects. I guess, you know, a lot of people have ambitions and dreams in different sports, and mine just happened to be wrestling, you know. And, you know, whatever, I was good at it, and I managed to progress, and that was fine, you know. But you've got to keep yourself grounded, and you've got to keep, you know, you've got to live, you know, you've got to earn money, and obviously, you know, when you're starting in wrestling, and probably the first, you know, you've got to find an alternative way to money. If you want to have your own place, you know, and run a car and live a normal life, you have to have a proper job, really, where wrestling's concerned. And, I mean, that's even the case in the world of sport era, because, you know, you forever hear Kent Walton on commentary talking about the wrestlers' day jobs, you know, which I always found very interesting, quite amusing, you know. So even back then, it wasn't really usual for a guy to be a full-time wrestler, I'd say.
These guys, I was talking to Marty Jones about it a couple of shows back, you know, guys that are on national TV, and you would think they were multimillionaires, and, you know, they're window cleaners during the week. I always found that quite strange. I always assumed that somebody's on television, they're a millionaire.
Yeah.
That's what you think, isn't it?
You think.
So you guys all do your stuff at Hammerlock, and then and now this is where I kind of met all you guys.
Sure.
Was there a mass exodus all at one time?
No, I think I kind of instigated the exodus. You know, that first generation of guys that come out of Hammerlock, I pretty much left first. And from what I'm told, I don't know, because obviously it wasn't there, but a group of guys left after that, pretty much based on what was said at the time, and them thinking that how I was portrayed there was wrong, and then them obviously understanding the reasons why I left and what I was trying to do, rather than what they were told, you know. So it kind of happened in the space of 6 months, I think. I left in September '97, I think, and then the rest of the guys kind of followed shortly after that, or sometime after that. Yeah.
And you left because you wanted to branch out and...
Yeah, you know, it's like you talked about earlier about comfort zones. It's about, I want to get out of my comfort zones, and the only way you can do that is go elsewhere, wrestle people you're not familiar with, and see if you've got the ability to, you know, work at their level and improve, and that's what I wanted to do. And, you know, Andre, for all his virtues, whatever, was very, very controlling, and he wanted to keep everybody on side, so to speak, for whatever reason, you know, I don't know, but I had some ambition, obviously, and I knew that I had to get out, start working elsewhere, and expand my, you know, increase my exposure on the British scene, and that's what I did, you know. Difficult, because it meant I had to fall out with Andre, but at the same time, that's the next stage in my career development. Well, you know, what else was I supposed to do? You know, I'd already spent almost 5 years there, so... Yeah.
And this would be just about where we met, because this is something that I get asked about a lot.
Really?
People do remember this. This is UWA time.
Yeah, okay.
Which, you know, there are videos that exist of this. I get asked about this a lot.
Yeah, I know.
This is when we first met.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you got approached for UWA.
Cool, I wish I could remember now. UWA. I remember. I did a camp show with Phil Powers, and this guy was there. His name was Andrew Mine, I think that's the guy.
The chap, yeah.
And he told me about the project they had coming up, you know, this TV show and everything, and that's where it pretty much, I think, you know, Phil brought me on board, and he kind of bigged me up to Andrew, and it just kind of went from there, really. It was, you know, and that's all that happened, and that obviously the next step was filming that documentary, and
Does that exist anywhere?
Well, yeah, I'm sure a few people have. I'm sure I've got it on a videotape somewhere in an attic somewhere.
That needs a releasing.
It does, yeah, really. I mean, I don't care. I'm not embarrassed. It's all part of the game, isn't it? It's all good fun, and you know, Stevie, and we've talked about this a million times before. That was the right opportunity that came about at the wrong time. Really, nobody was really ready for it, were they? So,
yeah,
you know
absolutely.
What I mean?
For those that don't know, this was a cable station that started up, live TV.
Yeah.
There was some wacky stuff all built around us, wasn't there? Their TV show. Although the claim to fame for me was that I was on just after Judge Judy, which which I was always pleased about. I think there was a bouncing weatherman on there, wasn't there? And